A higher risk for severe weather has been issued across parts of the southeast, including the risk for, unfortunately, nighttime tornadoes. Folks, this is going to be a big storm system moving toward the east as we go throughout the day today into the overnight hours. And as it does, it is going to spawn up some very unstable air, which could lead to some evening tornadoes developing, which could transition into the overnight hours. Folks, we got to watch this line closely. And in the Carolinas, we got some cooler air that may make things stable for some of us, but not all of us. Folks, I'm watching a lot of different things on this channel, including the chance that we have high winds regardless of any storms. We're all going to get some storms in the southeast, but it's a matter of behind this line how windy it gets, which is a problem as we've got a lot of wildfires. Hopefully the rain that comes in along with this will squash that threat. But you see here to the map on my right, we've got all kinds of wind watches, wind warnings, all the way back through Texas into the Great Plains. All those brown boxes indicate some sort of wind advisory out ahead of and behind this line of storms that'll roll through. And again, I think just about every single one of us are going to see storms in some form or fashion. So in this video, I'm going to unpack the timing for you, help you and your family plan so that you can stay safe. That is, of course, my goal here on this channel. And if you're new to this channel, please like this video, comment in the comment section where you're watching from, and subscribe to this channel while turning on notifications. That's the best way for me to keep you informed of what's coming our way. So a high risk for severe weather has been issued. This is new here back through parts of Texas into Louisiana, southern Mississippi, southern Alabama, even the extreme panhandle of Florida right in here, and Arkansas. This area, unfortunately, has a high risk for severe weather today. And new today is parts of the Carolinas have been put under a high risk for severe weather for Wednesday. This would include the Grand Strand, Horry County, all the way down to Charleston, gets right into Hilton Head, South Carolina, and goes all the way up through eastern North Carolina. For the western Carolinas, I'll flip it back. You see the low risk gets basically to the I-26 corridor through 8 a.m. Now this map goes in through 8 a.m. It resets the new day at 8. And you see through 8 a.m. we have a low risk up to I-26 because, hey, it's cooling down. These storms will encounter cooler air at a morning time frame, a more stable time frame, and that's where we start our Wednesday. So these lines of storms, while still loud with heavy rain, will likely be in some more stable air. And as the day goes on, as we get to lunchtime, this storm is now progressing over the I-77 corridor. And because it's warmer during the middle part of the day, as it arrives in these areas, it escalates. So what's happening here is it's de-escalating heading toward the Carolinas. Here, it's ramping up, leaving the western Carolinas. Does that make sense? So we're kind of in a ideal situation, if you will, while we're still on guard for it. Asheville, Greenville, Spartanburg, Anderson, and Asheville, Atlanta included that, even really the outskirts of Charlotte, kind of in that medium ground where you've got the cooler air on either side. That's reflected on the tornado risk. Unfortunately, there is a high risk for EF2 or greater tornadoes, a 10% chance issued here. You got a low risk, medium risk, high risk in the yellow, and the hatched area here means if there is a tornado, it has the potential to be EF2 or greater. That is today through 8 a.m. Tomorrow, notice how there's that hole. Not to say we can't get a spin-up tornado in the western Carolinas, but there's that hole that kind of leaves out the western Carolinas because it'll really escalate east of the I-77 corridor and get into eastern North Carolina where Fayetteville, Wilmington, all of the Outer Banks, Myrtle Beach, down through Georgetown, even into Charleston, has a slightly higher risk, a medium risk for tornadoes throughout the day tomorrow. Let's unpack it for you. So the storm is really ramping up back toward the west. What's happening here is there's a very strong wind machine, low pressure system right here and an attending cold front, which gets negatively tilted, which means that tilt on it, as you'll see this line, looks like it's kind of whipping in today. So by the time we get to 5 o'clock, this thing's really firing on all cylinders in Mississippi, likely several tornado warnings and threats there today, especially the farther south you go. That's where that hatched area for EF2 or greater was. Unfortunately, a very dangerous situation. Please, I'd encourage you to send this video to anybody that might be, or tag in the comment section anybody that might be in that area of southern Mississippi, southern Alabama, Louisiana, into the panhandle of Florida. Folks, we got to watch this closely. As it pushes off toward the east, Birmingham under the fire at 9 p.m. through around midnight, and then it approaches the Atlanta corridor between midnight and 3 a.m. So Atlanta's midnight, 3 a.m. Tennessee's rocking and rolling as well, but the big stuff's down here south of Birmingham, south of Atlanta, South Georgia. Now, this is also some colder air. Now we've been dark for a couple of hours. The temperatures are pretty cool, so notice how it's really starting to weaken. Certainly some heavy rain, and I'll show you lightning here in just a second so you can know if you're going to be woken up by some thunder and lightning. This is 2 a.m. 3 a.m., there's some heavy rain in the western Carolinas, maybe a few rumbles of thunder in that. And then here we are at 5 a.m., rumbles of thunder, and it's trying to amplify. Here's the actual low back here toward the west. Here's the front. It kind of goes up like that. So 6, 7 a.m., this thing's kind of trying to ramp up. Maybe some lightning, some gusty winds for sure. This would be 6, 7, 8. By 8 o'clock, most of the western Carolinas are out of it, and now it's approaching the I-77 corridor as the sun is coming up. That's important because that sun is fuel, and likely between 9 and noon, this thing's just whipping across the eastern parts of the Carolinas. It may be that Horry County, the Grand Strand, this arrives early enough that you don't get popped as hard. But certainly a risk there. This line especially is going to produce some strong winds. That thing could really, here's the wind energy behind it. So it's certainly got a lot of upper level energy and wind support with it that could allow this thing to really start to ramp up in those areas. And as it moves off toward the east, it would likely start to ramp up and give higher risks of severe weather in those areas. And then we're done. Then we're done by 5 p.m. on Wednesday. So again, time frame for the upstate of South Carolina, western North Carolina would be probably rain beginning as early as 2, 3 a.m., but the severe weather part probably 5 a.m. to 7 or 8 a.m., right as you're waking up and getting out the door. But even so, if we analyze this a little bit deeper, you need fuel, and this is what I'm showing you here. There's plenty of it down toward the south tonight in Louisiana, Alabama, Mississippi. Then it wanes. Look at this. During the overnight hours, thunderstorms need fuel, and fuel needs warmth. And in the overnight hours, there's just not very much warmth, not very much to go around. Even if I compare this to our other model, like the NAM, it's got a few hundred more joules of CAPE, so to speak. But our high-resolution model has done a really nice job at depicting what's happening here. And even at 1 a.m., the brand new model that's coming in showing hardly any fuel for storms to work with. This would be 5 a.m., 6 a.m. There's 100 joules. I mean, normally you need 1,000, maybe 2,000 even to get some pretty big storms. There's 100 across the western Carolinas. But deeper into the day, in the eastern Carolinas, there's 500, 600, 700 in that area. So we'd have to watch that closely. How about the tornado risk? Basically, this combines the fuel for thunderstorms and the spin in the atmosphere and spits out, hey, is a tornado likely? This is a parameter that goes 0 to 10. When I get to 3s and 4s, I really get concerned. So Louisiana, tornadoes are very likely tonight. 5s jump up here into Alabama. There's a 6 here in Mississippi near Jackson. It's going to be a rough night in those areas of Mississippi and Alabama. And as we go into the overnight hours, southern Alabama, really south of Birmingham, I've got 3s and 4s. There's a 5 to 6. This is 11 p.m. Nighttime tornadoes are scary, folks. 2 a.m. for Florida near Pensacola over toward Panama City. So need to watch that. And then there's nothing. No tornado ingredients through 4, 5, 6 a.m. But look what happens by the time the sun comes up, 7, 8, 9 a.m. There's some 2s and some 3s starting to show up here toward Myrtle Beach. Wilmington, there's a 3 and a 4. Starting to get some reds in here, which would be 4s and 5s. So anywhere from Fayetteville, North Carolina, over toward the coast, really Raleigh, Durham east, would have a chance for severe weather through the Outer Banks. At this point, though, the energy is going to the north, the warmth and instability is to the south, so it's kind of splitting in half right there. So how about Helicity tracks? This does not guarantee where a tornado could be, but it shows you where the model is trying to depict circulation. And what I look for is the number of them and the intensity of them. And we've got a big swath here across parts of Texas into Arkansas. This area that was highlighted, I'll go ahead and show you that one more time. It was highlighted here by the tornado risk, showing up on our computer model here as having a pretty big swath of tornadoes. This does not guarantee exactly to a T which county a tornado is going to be in, but if there's a swarm of them, you know that there's a pretty high chance of a tornado at some point. Now, the intensity also indicates something here. Those yellows and brighter colors would indicate higher rotation in the atmosphere. Oklahoma back through Texas, same story. But there would probably be some tornadoes into the overnight hours, or at least late evening hours here from New Orleans eastbound into Jackson, into parts of Alabama, really Birmingham south, but also northern Alabama into Tennessee could also get under some warnings later. And then notice there's kind of a break here across the western Carolinas, and then it ramps back up over here toward the eastern parts of North Carolina. That's as we get to, this is daylight hours of today through the evening. Then this is morning hours where it's more stable. This is Wednesday. This would be tomorrow afternoon and evening in the eastern parts of the Carolinas. So certainly a tornado risk. And look, the swath, I look for the swath, how many there are, and the intensity of them. And there's both, checking both boxes right there. How about lightning? I think just about all of us are going to hear some heavy rain and possibly see some lightning flashing. That would be tonight. This is around midnight. And then going through 4, 5, 6 a.m. Notice all the lightning colors here across Atlanta, Greenville, right up the I-85 corridor. Certainly some thunder and lightning 5, 6, 7 a.m. By 8, this is pushing toward the I-77 corridor. So certainly some electricity, but notice how it ramps up toward the coast as there's some more intense thunderstorms. Therefore, could be some more intense lightning. Okay, let's look closer right now at the pattern giving us this threat. It's a big dip in the jet stream. Notice this color right in here. That's a dip in the jet stream. You don't want to see that really any time of the year, but especially here in severe weather season. Anytime you get that dip and that wind energy, what's happening here is there's winds that are so much faster above our heads, and that creates rotation. And that's what's happening tonight into tomorrow, as that big dip in the jet stream wants to stream right through Tennessee, and that big dip is right there, accelerating winds in the upper parts of the atmosphere. So regardless of any kind of tornado risk, anything like that, I want to show you the wind threat, because it is going to certainly be a very windy pattern here, well beyond any thunderstorm that forms. So during the storm itself, of course, you could get some severe gusts, but look behind this threat. As we go toward tonight into tomorrow, those gusts are sitting around 45 to 50 miles per hour in the upstate, 50 to 60 miles per hour in the mountains. And look back here through Alabama into Nashville, Middle Tennessee, high wind warnings here, up to 70 mile per hour winds. That's with and apart from any kind of thunderstorms. It gets really, really, really windy as a part of this big dip in the jet stream, with that wind energy translating down to the surface. So keep that in mind. So what does the future hold? Well, this gets out of here. We get some cooler mornings, mild afternoons, kind of close to normal, the zonal pattern as we call it. But look back here toward the west, there's another dip in the jet stream. It's not as severe. That could give severe weather to Texas as we go into Saturday, and possibly the southeast into Sunday. If I were to pinpoint that, it's usually east and around this. So southern Alabama, southern Mississippi, southern Georgia, into Florida could get some severe weather, and some rain into the early parts of next week for central Florida. Then a big ridge of high pressure builds in. Could be warmer to start next week, about a week from today. And then another dip in the jet stream. Again, not as severe or pronounced. That would be next Thursday. Cools down a little bit, probably some rain. But here comes a more potent one. If we're looking for our next severe weather maker or severe threat, it looks like it would be building toward the Great Plains toward next Friday. This would be next Friday. We're looking 8-9 days in advance here. So like winter storm forecasting, you kind of got to look at the pattern. Does it favor severe weather? In this case, it does. And that would be next Friday into Saturday. Big elongated jet stream trying to whip through the southeast right here. So sometime in that time frame of middle of the month, the 14th through the 16th, 17th, would be another threat for severe weather. Let's look at our parameters. This is a forecast issued by the Colorado State University experimental team. They were really pinpointing with their modeling right here that area of Alabama and Mississippi that could have a high risk of severe wind and tornadoes as we go into the overnight hours with severe weather. This would be wind, this would be tornadoes. So Louisiana into Mississippi and Alabama. And then let's shift this thing to tomorrow. Notice how it kind of hop, skips, and jumps a few areas like Atlanta, Greenville, Spartanburg, and Anderson. Certainly still a wind threat. However, that wind threat is low going into 8 a.m. and then beyond 8 a.m. It's trying to ramp up toward Raleigh, Durham, Greensboro, Winston-Salem, eastbound. And the tornado threat's right along the coast because by the time things get going, it's pulling off the coast. So cautiously optimistic the Western Carolinas, at the very least, will be in the clear from tornadoes, but we got to watch the eastern parts of the Carolinas. What do the threats say for the modeling from Colorado State University for the next 3 to 8 days? Again, watching Saturday into Sunday for the southern part of the southeast. I think this might be a little far north than what we're seeing, but we'll watch that closely. And then going into about a week from today, that Great Plains threat, that big dip in the jet stream as I was showing you, may start to crop up. You'll probably see this time frame start to light up here in the day 8 time frame, which would be March 11th. So watching March 11th for the Great Plains, then it would shift toward the east in the subsequent days after that toward the 13th, 14th, 15th. And we've got to watch that. You know, it's a pattern that supports severe weather. We're behind this system now into the weekend. The weekend brings another low pressure, which could provide for some pop-up thunderstorms, maybe some of them turning severe Saturday night into Sunday down here toward the south, and then Sunday into Monday watching that pattern deeper there as we advance this modeling even further, show you that same model but with a radar on it. Here comes a low pressure on the 13th. That's responsible for some severe weather risks. But here comes the big guy. This would be Friday, March 15th. Big, deep 971 low. Just hangs out from the jet stream, and there's our low pressure with the cold front coming through. That'd be Saturday into Sunday. So 15th, 16th, 17th, got to watch that time frame for storms. It looks like it turns cooler for a little while behind that, maybe a day or two. Severe fuel for those storms, not much to look at until we get to Saturday, Sunday, deep south here, Louisiana, Florida, as I showed you. That's why I don't think it's quite farther north than that. And then it moves off toward Florida. And then for the middle of the month threat, this would be the 15th, 16th Great Plains. Here's our low. You can see it wrapping around right there. Storm fuel surging north, and that could provide for severe weather in the south for Saturday the 16th into Sunday. That's the way it would look right now. How about our temperatures? Those of you wondering, is winter over? What are we looking at? Well, let's peek at this. This was just issued. This is the temperature outlook. 6 through 10. This would be March 9th through the 13th. This gets us through the 13th of March. Above normal temperatures as a whole. Now, there will be a cold day here or there, or certainly some cold mornings. As we look at the extended outlook, this now gets us through the 17th of March. Above normal temperatures favored across the eastern United States, especially up through the northeast. That could be many more days in the 70s and lows in the 40s and 50s versus the 30s where we should be in many locations. And then let's take a sneak peek at week 3 and 4. This would round out March 15th through the 28th, well above normal temperatures across the eastern half of the United States. So those of you looking to get an early taste of spring, it may very well happen. We warm up in March tremendously anyway, but to have above normal temperatures and us warming up, that would spell many days closer to 80 degrees, which if we're looking at severe weather risks, if you have higher temperatures, that does present the threat for more severe weather. So again, all of this is stuff that I'll continue to track for you here, and I hope that you'll stay tuned. We'll have much more coming up on WYFF News 4 at 4, 5, and 6. And as always, if you're new to this channel, please continue to subscribe wherever you're watching from. Like this video, subscribe, and turn on notifications. It's the best way to stay up to date when severe weather could be heading our way. And in this case, we've got a lot to watch back toward, and point the right way. There we go. Point toward the right map. Back toward the west, we got high wind warnings. We've got severe watches, tornado watches. It's going to be a rough 24 hours across the south right now, and my goal is to keep you posted along the way. So if you are new to the channel, please consider going ahead and subscribing. And folks, as always, please let me know where you're watching from. That does help me out when I'm looking back at these videos to be able to tailor make a forecast, maybe mention your city a little bit more often in here and be able to give you an idea of what's going on. Stay safe, everybody, and please share this video with anybody you think that could use it with the ongoing severe weather today and tomorrow.